This podcast episode is brought to you by nothing.
Try it for free.
You rehearse now.
Let's crack a beer.
Yeah. So beatboxing.
Yeah.
It's a way. Not too many people communicate through beatboxing around here.
No, they don't.
It's a language.
It used to be much more prevalent back in the old Riverside late 90s days.
You know, and this...
I mean, that's kind of where I learned how to do that is, you know, I had a bunch of people that I lived with and hung out with, and they would all beatbox, and then they would all, you know, go out for the night or something. I'd stay home, and I'd sit there. And it's funny because Tigel now, my son, is starting to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I kind of like relate. I look like the little 4-year-old kind of.
You see him doing that?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I tried teaching my... yeah, that'd be great. I tried teaching my my students when I was teaching music how to beatbox, and I introduced this idea to the parents, right? And they were like, nope. And then some people withdrew their kids from my class. Like,
Really?
yeah, because I was trying to tell the parents that I'll put it this way: when I had a student that had trouble with rhythm, I would try to get them to internalize the rhythm. Just put the instrument down,
Right.
Because you don't need that distracting you from trying to internalize the rhythm right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we could beat on a drum. We could switch him from the guitar or the piano to the drum, which is simple enough,
Yeah.
you know. Or we can do it with the mouth, which is important.
It's totally
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
It's crazy. It's another. It's just another tool. It's another instrument.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm assuming they had issues with it because of, in their mind, the relationship between beatboxing and hip hop, which is ridiculous. I mean,
It just sounded crazy. I mean, here's this person with their like 7-year-old or 8-year-old kid, you know, and it has something to do with the fact that it was kind of urban, as they say. But
it was street.
Yeah, it was street, and you know, but I think it was just because it was so orthodox or unorthodox? Orthodox. It was so
unorthodox.
Unorthodox.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it was. It was just like, oh, this is just too weird. And I'm like, you don't understand. Mm-hmm. I told one mom, I told her, this is what I do for a living. I know what I'm doing. Like, do you like what you see me doing right now, I'm trying to show your son, if you want me to teach your son,
Right.
just teach him guitar, Goliath. Just
Somebody told me some really
Okay.
a good piece of advice in terms of learning guitar, and it was really aimed at like teaching young students. It was that we place an unbalanced amount of energy on the left hand, on the chord hand, than we do the rhythm hand. And so, but really, you can make music immediately with the right hand if you can figure out rhythm, right? So if you're teaching a student how to play guitar, you want to focus in on the rhythmic aspects of it, because you could take one note, you could have the little finger on one string and hit enough rhythm to where it sounds musical. But if the left hand is playing Mozart concertos and the right hand just can't keep rhythm, it's gonna sound awful. So the rhythm, teaching kids rhythm prior to them touching a piano, a guitar, or any other melodic instrument makes so much sense. Teach them how to internalize rhythm, and then when they pick up the instrument, then it's just learning the mechanics, and you add rhythm and you've got music.
my idea was genius, is what you're saying.
I think your idea was genius. Yes. In this instance, Goliath, the muse spoke to you. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I was on a roll when I was teaching at that time, for sure. Rhythm is so important. Like some people, I never gave up on all my students. Like I always thought that I could teach this kid rhythm. If you let me teach this kid rhythm, put the guitar down. He's not even interested in the guitar.
Also, I think that we have internalized rhythm. I mean, everybody does, and so that's cultural background. That's exposure to music.
Except my dad.
Well, some people are just born lucky. But
my dad. You should have seen my dad. You should see my father dance. Anyway,
it's beautiful. I mean, no, you see, he's got his own rhythm, dude.
Oh, he's got his own rhythm.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But the point is that like if you teach a kid, like when I'm beatboxing, it's not like I've learned specific rhythms. That's just that rhythm was just what came out of me. And so if you can teach a kid the mechanics, and then you say you create, you assemble the parts as you wish. I think that we emphasize. We have so much Western European kind of like. I don't even know what the word is, but like we're still dealing with so much of Western education of music when which
is so rigid.
Yeah. And there's so many other, there's whole traditions of music out there that people never get to explore or touch, Indonesian music and Korean music and Indian music. And, there's so many, I mean, South American music, it feels really odd to me to put a kid in a room, give him, say, here's the sheet music. You have to learn this. Even Jaco Pastorius never learned sheet music. And then he got to a point where he needed to learn to progress into the deeper jazz that he wanted to learn. And he taught himself how to read sheet music. But I mean, this is a guy who just listened, played, mimicked, and just vibed on it. And then he learned sheet music. I don't think you need to have that Western music education in order to be a great player. In fact, a lot of players who go that route, when you ask them to improvise or play something soulful or something emotive, they don't know what to do.
My wife.
Oh yeah.
She's paper trained.
Oh, okay, same.
Yeah, she knows it. And you put a piece of sheet music. She plays the flute and the piccolo. You put a piece of sheet music in front of her, and she can play you whatever you put in there, like whatever notes, whatever. It's like, but and on top of that, also, I think it's kind of cheating for me because I'm a guitarist and I have six strings to deal with, and she has one melody line. Like, no wonder you could read anything, right? But or a piano,
talent.
Right?
It's still talent.
No, I'm just kidding.
Talent,
I'm just teasing. Yeah. But
don't knock your wife. She's sleeping.
She is actually. But it's she's like that. They call it paper trained.
Paper trained.
I'm paper trained, or
Wow.
And I went the route of Jaco Pastori, which is I did most things by ear, and then when I got to a certain point where I can't do this by ear anymore because this is just going to take forever, I started learning how to read sheet music, and I went to school for it, and guitar and guitar tabs and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's a tool. It's a tool like every other tool. It should not be neglected. it's not the end all be all, but it's like it's a one side of this game, like the music, which is it'll help you learn things way faster because you'll develop a visual for it in your mind. You can close your eyes or with your eyes open, whatever, and you'll see the notes. And so you can organize them faster in your head.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, and so it has that aspect. But James Jenkins from the Symphony, he told me, he described it to me the best. He goes, Goliath, sheet music is just a fast way to learn something. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's the most detailed written language that we have, because if you put a vocal line in there, it'll tell you what pitch to say the vocals with, what kind of timbre, what kind of emphasis, and for how long to say it.
Well, and to put it into historical context, it served a purpose in the sense that, now we take for granted. It's like when you want to hear that, bitchin' guitar solo from Eddie Van Halen in Hot for Teacher, you go to YouTube and you just like, show it to me. And, back in the day, if you had music in your head and you wanted somebody to hear what you had in you, it was a matter of necessity that they had this formalized coded language to say, this is what I want it to sound like. Whereas, now I could take my iPhone, I could put on the voice memo, go, hey Goliath, I was thinking about this line we could work on by do 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 doom da da do doom doom.
You have a different tool,
and I can just send it to you, and then you can load it.
And I'll be
into,
like, fuck, I gotta figure this shit out.
Right, exactly. Another fucking idea from Keith. Great.
Yeah. Hey, bro, I'm the one that has to be like putting in the computer over here. No, I'm just kidding.
Right, but it had a function, and then because of that functionality, it was able to grow into symphonies and like 50-member orchestras and that kind of thing. So I mean, if it weren't for sheet music, that would be a much more complicated task. Imagine you trying to communicate your music to 50 musicians who played all different instruments, and you're trying to play different parts.
And you walk up to each one
and hum,
and you're like, your part goes no, while he's doing that. No, you're too early.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, it becomes so. I mean, it does serve a communicative. Maybe I didn't drink enough coffee, but it definitely serves a communicative pathway. Mm-hmm. But it's not the only pathway to music. I mean, you look at musical traditions. In fact, man, the whole reason I started playing music at 30 was because I was living in Israel and I picked up this book by a musician turned studio engineer turned neuroscientist. And he is at McGill University up in Toronto. And
you said musician turned studio engineer turned neuroscientist.
Yeah, who studies music.
Okay.
So what he does is he writes his academic papers, he publishes those, but then he also writes books for laymen, so for anybody who's interested in music to read, right? And his first book is called This Is Your Brain on Music, and I was reading this when I was living in Israel. In fact, I think I had just finished my master's degree, and it was like the first book I picked up since like before I started my master's. Yeah. And one of the amazing gems in this book was that up until about 400 years ago, there was no such thing as a musician. The concept didn't exist in any language.
400 years ago.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because regardless of the culture and tradition you were born into, music, some sort of music was part of your language. So you learned your traditional songs and stories through song, and you sang. And me living in Israel at the time, I realized that nobody goes to synagogue on Shabbat, on Friday night, and says, "Oh, I don't sing the prayers to God because I don't like my singing voice." Everybody sings. So Israel's a much more musical place to be because they have that rich tradition, just like India and just like other cultures. So it wasn't until Europe started creating symphony halls, and there were those who could and those who couldn't. And it started separating the idea of music out of the people. And once I read that, the very next day, I went and bought my guitar.
When did that happen?
I
No. I mean, when was Europe pushing the music out of the people?
You know, like the Baroque period is probably the you can really put, you know, there was Gregorian chant, but I mean,
Yeah.
so there was low music and high music. So the low music was the folk music, and the high music was the Mozarts and the Bachs, and those are the court music.
Yeah.
And so when music took on this highbrow, you know, because then when we turned our noses up at the
For the counts and
right, that was high music. That was what
dukes.
music aspired to be. But if you were singing folk songs, you were just some
minstrel and singing next to the tomatoes are growing wild. Dun, 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 dun.
It's kind of, I mean, it
Green sleeves.
right, and that's why that was when things started separating, because then you had very intellectualized music instead of emotive music, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think that great classical composers were able to take that intellectualized music and become, and the great ones could emote with it. But that was the separation. So basically, I owned a record label, I had a booking and promoting company, I did radio, I did event production, I did tour managing, I did everything around music except play music. So when I read that, I realized that, like, I wish somebody would have turned me on to music sooner. And so now that I have...
When you were a kid, you didn't have any music classes? Music lessons? No trumpet laying around?
No, I
violin?
did. So I eventually did get into music in middle school and then into high school and played in marching band. I had a trumpet, but...
What was your like, I don't know what your childhood was like, but what was your...
Miserable.
What?
No.
But I mean, I think every child has a degree of misery, or let's say not misery, but what I'm asking is, what was your escape as a child? Like, was it... Because mine was music. Mine was music, and that's where I would escape. I'm like, at that and drawing, maybe.
So in I don't know what it was in like middle school and elementary school, but like in high school, it was... I mean, what do we do for fun? I mean... Friends got together and we played Dungeons and Dragons. That was my 9th grade. 10th grade was about rollerblading.
But by yourself? Did you do anything on your own?
Video games.
Okay. Yeah, that's legit, man. That's engrossing.
But it's, you know what, man? It's terrible because I got to college and, you know, I beat every Super Mario game ever created. And I mean, I knew...
You can make money on that now.
Now, yeah.
You know people make millions of dollars.
They don't make millions.
I'm not bullshitting you. People make millions of dollars
not playing Super Mario Brothers.
Playing video games.
Yeah, video games.
A lot of video games. Playing even poker, traditional like poker on the internet.
That
millions of dollars. But playing like whatever, I can't think of any titles right now, but whatever's popular. Grand Theft Auto, millionaires. People making millions of dollars. So the number of people are making that kind of money is
maybe
probably
I should get back into
like
video
10,000.
games.
Like 10,000 people.
Maybe I should get into video games again. I'm really good at video games.
I'm telling you, you could totally make
my hand-eye coordination was amazing. I mean, to this day, I'm. In fact, the other day I was over at a friend's house and he's like, "You want to play video games?" I haven't played video games in years, and he put on this game that he knows, and I'm destroying him. And he's
what
like,
game is it? You don't know?
I don't even know the name.
So, video games, dude. I love video games. I don't play them ever.
Yeah.
But I love them. I'm like an alcoholic. Like, don't touch the drink. I love the whiskey, but I don't touch it. No. And not that I would go down some slippery slope. It's just that I know the amount of time that it takes to invest into the game, something that I'm going to like.
Yeah.
So let's say I'll be bored and I'll play on the internet. I'll play Tetris. Well, this is simple enough. Play that for like 10 minutes. Wait till I lose. But the video games that I want to play are these artistic games with these amazing soundtracks and acting in them, and like, you know, I don't really want to get too much into the potions and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But somewhere I like adventure.
So I every now and then and I haven't done it in a while because the last one I downloaded was a real doozy. But I'll go onto the App Store and just like sort of like see what the free games are, and I'll download them, and I'll either beat them or I'll play them. And Tehila is like, she knows when I'm sitting there, she's like, "You downloaded another game, didn't you?" Yeah, fuck, I did. Okay. And she's like, ugh.
Your eyes are zoned into that like a deer in headlights.
So the last, you want to hear the last game I downloaded?
Yeah. Pac-Man.
No, it's called Ingress. You know this game? I've
heard the word.
I feel like I shouldn't even tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Google created it. It's a geocaching game that's capture the flag. And so you open it and it knows your location, and there's certain portals, and so churches or landmarks or, and you can actually submit your own portals and stuff, but it's a capture the flag. So you accumulate, weapons to attack other portals, and then you also accumulate like the shields and defenses to defend your portals. Mm-hmm. And it got so bad. Next to us, was a portal from our house, mm-hmm. and I could only access the portal when I was on one side of the house. So I'd go downstairs and I'd go stand next to the house, and I would rock this portal, and you would need to wait like 10 minutes for you to recharge to attack it again. Mm-hmm. And I'd go back upstairs, and that's why I had to get rid of the game. Obviously, you could see me. I'm like, I'm in it.
So the game, you're actually playing with a map. Like in real life.
In real life. And there are other people. So you may see someone across the street who's maybe just sending a text message, or they're attacking the portal you're defending, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So it became this weird.
Is that game still going on right now?
It's still going on. And there's people.
Has it improved? Has it?
I haven't. I deleted it off my phone.
Okay.
But I mean, there were people meeting up.
Okay.
In the game.
Yeah.
Because once you would meet up with people, you could drop weapons and stuff for them, and they could help you. I mean, well,
yeah, that's something to think about, because that's really interesting with all different other kinds of possibilities in it. Mm-hmm. For me, I would shy away from that game, me personally, because it's too much. I have this thing about the digital world crossing too much into my life. Like, I'm not a Luddite by any means. Just look around here, but when it comes to my spiritual or my emotional or my relationships, right? That kind of makeup, I don't like it to cross too much into there.
Dude, here's a real situation, a real possibility. Luna and Tigel could be hanging out one day, and they come back from, wherever they are, hanging out, and they go, "Hey guys, Luna comes to you, Tigel comes to me," and they say, "I want to get chipped."
That's fucked.
Remember when you went home to your mom and dad and you were like, "I want to get my ear pierced."
Yeah. I want to get a tattoo. I want to get my ear pierced. Yeah.
I want to get chipped. Shit. That's coming, dude. That's going to be the new teenage rebellion.
I don't think so. You know why?
Because you beat Luna's ass?
No. Because, I haven't really expressed this much. Anyway, no, because we have something better than the chip right now. We don't need a chip. We have something far, far better than the chip right now. The chip is unnecessary because right now you have a device that people are carrying willingly, and they're sharing willingly, and they don't have to have it with them, but they want it with them all the time.
So why not take it one step further? I mean, people are starting to wear their phones with this watch.
It's not going to go anywhere. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I really don't think people will get chipped because of that. If the phones were not working, now I'm getting to some sort of nefarious,
right?
But I'm saying it's being used for nefarious purposes. It's being used for good purposes too. But
what you make the assumption that the chip and the phone do the same exact things. What if the chip actually is able to tap into your conscious mind to where it's not just virtual reality anymore? It is,
or not data that you're feeding it.
It is digitized reality.
Yeah, because companies, I'm sure certain companies, like very advanced companies, are taking into consideration the fact that the data that they're taking in is data it's people have prepared for this device. It's not really taking in real data. Like when you're taking a survey, it changes what your answers are going to be because you're taking a survey.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'm going to do this questionnaire. put myself in a different way. It's not real honest, you know. Like if you're spying on somebody, that's honest.
Right.
Like if somebody's spying on all your shit, your phone and your computer and everything, and you're bugging your house, they can really have some honesty.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
But yeah.
So how does that tie into the chip though?
The chip. I mean, the chip would. What does the chip offer besides like maybe taking your pulse and your biorhythms?
Dude, imagine the Matrix where you could plug into something. Imagine being able to literally plug into your game system. So rather than the controllers being in your hands, you plug the cable right into a socket, into a little.
I want to get chipped.
A little port. I'm
gonna chip your tooth. Is what I'm gonna do right now. You want to get chipped? You go.
Yeah, man, we can stop talking about the chips.
Well,
chips.
I mean, really, that's the conclusion that I came up with. Like this, because I am in awe of the cell phones. I am in awe. I'm playing somewhere, music somewhere, right? And sometimes if I'm playing somewhere where I'm background and I'm just watching people, I am in awe of this. I'm like, this is like people look crazy. Watching people on their phones from the perspective that I can, I'm in a position where I'm allowed to stare at the room for like 4 hours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nobody else can do that. Like nobody else can stare at me for 4 hours, like, or anybody else. You know, I could stare at a room for 4 hours, and doing that has made. I barely use my cell phone, dude. I text, I use a map, and I call people. And otherwise, it's like sitting over there, and I'm like, because I don't want to be like that. I'm like, I see what's happening, and this is like, how can this dad be telling that kid they can't watch TV, and you're on your phone like for a total of like 10 hours a day? I don't know what, you know.
Yeah.
And this is another television, and this one it's got its problems too. You know, you forgot that this was a tool, you know. And I mean, if you don't mind me saying, another thing is like technology, computers, cell phones, the software in them. It used to be, let's say 10 years ago, I don't whatever. It's like somewhere around there. It used to be that. People were designing software so you can make it do what you wanted it to do. And then about 5 years ago, software went really hardcore into how can we get the user to do what we want them to do? Like, how can we steer you this way?
And you can feel that. You can see it.
Yeah. And I hate that shit. You know, especially coming from a perspective of, you know, before AOL, being into computers and programming and, you know, the light programming that I did. But when you start doing that, you understand the makeup of it and what it's for and what it's about. This machine is for me to use. Like my phone, I pay for my phone every month for me to use it, not so you can get a hold of me whenever you want. You know? Yeah.
I think
that's one of the reasons I don't have a Facebook, by the way.
Yeah, I think if you open up the hood on that, I think the motivation for that is money and control.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's the companies.
It's a ruiner to me. Right.
Have you seen this? It's attributed to Banksy. This quote about advertisers, and he's, you know, I don't remember it verbatim, but the idea that, you know, the advertisers are using the most sophisticated knowledge around, which is like mind control, to inside their advertising, and they're using sex and they're using color and sound, and so they, I mean, Banksy is probably, it's more than one person, I think, but Banksy is making the argument that, you know, I didn't ask for these people to be here. I don't want them on my billboards and on my TV, and for them to be immune to attacks, which is what he does. He does corporate attacks, you know, advertising attacks, and he's the criminal. And so these companies are using the most sophisticated technology to make sure that we stay plugged in and glued, you know, constantly telling us we're not good enough, we need more to be happy. I think there is some truth to that, where the phone doesn't serve you anymore. You serve the phone. You serve the apps. You serve the companies. You serve, you know, and
well, you're aware of this, right? And I'm aware of this. I happen to be fortunate enough in our level of society, which is a good level of society. It's a privileged level of society, if you ask me, you know, that I can tap out of it if I want to right now. Like I know people who cannot not have a Facebook or who can not have whatever application, Instagram, or not have their phone all the time. I don't have to have it on me all the time. You know, and I'm working always like vigilant, like, you know, 2% of me is always vigilant of how to stay like this. You know, because it's very peaceful like this, you know, and I've been the other way where I'm just like glued to it. And the more that you interact with whatever application you use, the more relationship you build with it, and the more glued to it, and the more, for some reason, people have this obligation feeling that comes up
to it. I need to check
and then
it.
you start becoming an Apple head, and you're like, fuck PCs, and you're like, Apples are the best, and because they're the best, you know. It's like, because everybody knows that. I'm not just some like chum using my computer. I'm checking my YouTube in style. Yeah. You know. So anyway,
I'm part of a culture.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I was going off. I initially was going off of something you said, which the last thing you said was.
It's okay. We can shift. Kind of. I have a tangent.
Yeah.
I'd like to take us on.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So, and it kind of ties.
I have one too, but forget it.
I mean, your tangent or mine, dude.
That's cool, dude.
Know?
No.
So I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he was doing some web work for a soccer team in England, and he lives in Phoenix, and so he built this online community that everybody would get together. All the fans of this soccer team would get together and watch the games and build community around. And so, you know, he asked me about sports, and I said I don't follow it. I have a problem with the fanaticism that of sports. And he said the interesting thing about sports though is that it gives people a sense of community, because in this culture we've destroyed almost every piece of community. So sports, he goes, if I'm wearing a Raiders hat and I see the guy at the end of the bar wearing a Raiders jacket, I can go sit down next to him and immediately have a connection with this complete stranger just by mentioning the Raiders. And it opens up. And I thought, it was really interesting. So we talked about the connection. I'm part of the Apple crew and clique, and people are so quick to draw lines, me versus them, because we have so few genuine ways to connect with people and make community in America today that people are just so thirsty and so hungry for it. I mean, this is why people join gangs. This is why people join right-wing crazy churches. This is why people, they're just so thirsty for a human connection that I mean, everybody's so.
I'm thirsty for Modelo right now.
Yeah. Cheers for that.
Anyway, I'm just joking. Where were you?
I was
loving it. It's great.
But the idea is that we've disintegrated families, and we've disintegrated neighborhoods, and we've disintegrated all these networks that used to be in place holding communities together. There's no more town hall that brings people together. There's no more sense of shared experience. Everybody has their own lawnmower. Everybody has their own tools. Yeah. Everybody has their own everything, and you don't go outside and interact with people. One of the to go back to this is your brain on music. One of the really interesting things about singing in unison with people, there's a chemical that gets released in the brains that has to do with fostering connection. So if you think about what that means for churches and synagogues when people are singing together, it's creating a physical chemical in their head that's associated with familiarity and connection with everybody in the room. So how often outside...
Music is communion. I mean,
Totally.
I mean, by yourself, it's expression, and it's introspection, and it's expression. It could be any of those. And but with other people, it's another form of communicating. It's another form of...
Yeah, I had this idea recently, because we have Tequilas. We have this beautiful space that we can use to bring community together. And I I'm always kind of like scratching my head.
Are you giving me a plug right now? Are you doing a plug right now?
No.
No, I'm just kidding. You can. You can do whatever you want.
1250 McDuff, Tequilas.
That's right. Ding. Tequilas. Go to Tequilas.
Go to Tequilas. Get a massage. You look tense. You look tired. You look stressed.
It's true. You do kind of look kind of tired right now.
Get a massage, man. Just go.
Tequilas.
Call the number. It's right there.
It's on. What street is it on?
McDuff.
I almost forgot.
So this is better than advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I was doing was this is actually the first time I'm saying this out loud. I haven't even told Tahila this.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be fun to do community nights of singing? Just so everybody's, tap a few different people. Hey, can you bring some interesting songs that would be good for us to sing? And just everybody getting together to sing. I mean, everybody loves it when Christmas caroling and all that stuff,
Yeah.
but why do we have to do it in the context of religion? We can get together. There's certainly enough secular songs that would be interesting enough for us to get together.
Christmas caroling is not religious, is it? No, it's not.
I mean, it's
got some religious tones and songs in it, right?
It's in the context of religion.
I used to like it. Now I think it's really corny, like really.
I don't think if you went to Saudi Arabia on December 25th, there's no Christmas caroling happening there. So I mean, I think it has some sort of.
We can make it happen though.
Yeah. Man, there's a new documentary.
Bikinis.
There's a new documentary coming out about a gay Muslim guy going to Saudi Arabia as an open gay Muslim, where it's illegal to film and it's illegal to be gay, and he's going to.
He's going to do a gay porn there.
I think just openly admitting you're gay in Saudi Arabia, I think this is on par with doing gay porn.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I just saw that a trailer for that movie. I thought.
Yeah, that's a funny. A lot of people would use the word conservative for that mentality here. That's what I would hear. That's what I heard in my head. Like when you're talking about that's a very conservative country, but it's just like very old. It's like very old, like way of thinking. Like, I could totally see the whole discriminating against gay people to that degree working like 1,000 years ago in a society. I could see that working.
We were really blessed in the West with hallucinogenics. I think you
think that's what did it?
Yeah, I do. And I'm not just talking about like Timothy Leary in like in the 60s. I'm talking about like shamanic tribes and Native American tribes. I mean, they would, and even not even in the West. I mean, you also had a history of it in Indian traditions. On that subcontinent of mind altering. I mean, they went into, they were psychonauts. They purposely went into the unknown and kind of came back on vision quests and doing all these different types of things. I mean, you could make a case for the Irish and alcohol,
Well, every substance, the way my take on that is that every substance that you ingest is some sort of hallucinogenic, so to speak, or psychedelic. Like, for example, if you go eat like a 12 pack of donuts,
it affects your mental state.
Oh, you're going to be like, or you're going to might get really high and then you'll get really depressed. So if you, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I make this badass juices. Like I make this juice and I'll just down this juice and I will just like, ding, like more better than coffee. It's like coffee, but way cleaner.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have this heavy end to it. Like, and, so that like doing that, like, I take that into consideration, or beer, everything that you take now, you take these certain substances that make you hallucinate to a degree that is way more stronger than that, like stronger than juice. Yeah. Let's see. So I see it as a gradient, like whatever you call it, a spectrum.
Okay. So when you say that, this is what I think about.
So I don't see anything wrong with hallucinogenics, by the way. That's what I mean.
You have a matrix of consciousness, right? And your matrix, when you eat donuts as opposed to a kale salad, right? The dot moves on that matrix.
Why you gotta be kale though?
Choose your green,
You're so
buddy.
trendy.
Choose your green.
Why can't it be spinach? Spinach is not good enough for you anymore. It has to be kale now.
Man,
in your beard, you gotta be.
it could be moringa.
All right.
So you're on this plane of matrix. You're on this matrix. I'll explain it later. You're on this matrix, and you've got this dot. Donuts or spinach, wherever you got to go. what happens when you ingest some sort of psychotropic or psychedelic material, it causes your matrix the dot moves off the matrix. Your matrix has to expand to contain your dot of consciousness. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the difference between eating a donut or a juice as opposed to eating some, wicked, mushrooms that are gonna, it takes your dot of consciousness and throws it off your matrix. Your matrix has to open up to expand. But I will say there's a great Alan Watt quote about psychedelics. It says, when you get the message, hang up the phone.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You've only got enough stretch material of matrix.
Yeah, that guy is one of those guys.
Totally.
He's one of those luminaries, one of those, he's like, how, people around where you live that you connect with? Well, he's like one of those people like that every state has one of those. Like almost like every half of a state has one of those, And
where's our Alan Watts?
Who, from here, from Florida?
Yeah. Do we have an
It's
Alan?
probably Jeb Bush. I don't know. It's probably you. It's probably me. Who knows? We just don't know yet.
Yeah.
We don't know yet. But the guy is like, doing this podcast and doing podcasts that are audio, and speaking, it made me even appreciate Alan Watts even more. Mm-hmm. More so than Jay Krishnamurti, because he's so improvised and clever. And he's basically a stand-up comedian. What did he call himself? He called himself an entertainer. He goes, the reason people like to come and hear me talk is because I'm an entertainer. That's what it is.
And because there's truth in that, he's like, he twists it. It's like, oh yeah, you are an entertainer. Oh, he's a mystic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's not letting us really know that he's a mystic. Mm. I mean, he was the first Western philosopher to really absorb. It's weird. He wasn't.
He got it. He definitely got it. Yeah.
Let me say it like
this.
But
that quote that you said though, mm-hmm. about when you get the message, hang up the phone. It's a great quote.
Great quote.
It is great because it's right on. And fortunately, I listened to that without even knowing that quote, like without knowing him say that. I'm like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like the substances that I've tried in my life, I'm like, okay, I feel it out here. I see where this goes. I can go here now if I need to.
Yeah.
Like I can just move this perspective around over there or move it over here and realize that what I'm experiencing right now is not all there is to it.
I stopped doing it when my buddy tried to jump off a third-story building, and I was like, I think I'm fucking done with this stuff. That was.
Did he really try to do that? He really
tried to do it.
Why? What did he thought he could, like there was water down there or something? Or he was depressed?
It's funny to hear. Actually, I just hung out with him recently, and we actually talked about it. And he has a much more like rational memory of what it was he was thinking and why he was doing it and the justification. And I think that has developed over time, that rationalization. Mm-hmm. I think he was just off his fucking head and just wanted to jump. And he actually, what happened is he got up onto the ledge and two of us grabbed him and we threw him face down onto the floor and dragged him. I mean, it was like a...
Hi, everybody. The reason that you hear me interrupting the podcast right now is because my audio device was full and it stopped recording us because I didn't delete the previous podcast that I had on there, and which was many podcasts that were on there. But, as you could see, we're still talking. If you're watching the video of this and you see me talking, right, with my headphones on and all like looking sleepy maybe, I don't know, because it was pretty late. And then you'll see Keith talking right there. Look at Keith with his beard and his glasses and stuff. He can look like an Afghani or he can look like a hillbilly. Who knows what he is right now? You don't know what he sounds like right now because you can't hear it because I messed up and I didn't delete previous podcast episodes of my recording device. But we're going to continue this conversation later this week, hopefully, and join us for part 2. And it'll be great because we took notes of what we were talking about and we're going to continue it. Did I say that already? So, all right. Peace out. I love you. Enjoy yourself. Bye.